Hi everyone. As most of you know, we have installed a new version of SpectraFlow on the Aurora computer. With this new install, we just want to introduce the new way we want you to deal with data, and also show you some of the changes that have occurred with this new version of the software. So in the past, basically, we've had problems with the C drive filling up with FCS files and the SpectraFlow database filling up with experiments and worksheets. Eventually, this makes the software impossible to use, and that's no fun. So the most important thing we want you to take away from this is that you'll need to delete all experiments after you export your data. And all data should be transferred and permanently stored on the pathology data server. As with the old version of SpectraFlow, recorded FCS files automatically go to the C drive and Cytec bio export. However, unlike in the old version of SpectraFlow, deleting experiments from the software also deletes the FCS files from the C drive. So just be very careful that when you delete something from the software, it's safely on the pathology data server before doing so. So with that in mind, there's a few different options for exporting data, depending on whether or not you plan to repeat experiments. The first option is what you will be the most familiar with. And this is mostly going to apply in the cases when you don't plan to repeat an experiment. This is really the only thing you'll need to do. So you'll go to the C drive, you go to Cytec bio export, and FCS files. This is a minor change from the old version of SpectraFlow. There's actually yet another layer within FCS files called experiments, and within that you'll find your account data files, or data files. So I'm going to go into this path1 account file, and here are my data files that I have saved. So I'm just going to go ahead and take these and copy them over to the pathology data server. Okay, so now my FCS file should be transferred over, which is great. So the second option I'll need to show you within the SpectraFlow software, and this is going to apply when you want to export your data for the day, but then you think you're going to repeat the experiment again using the same reference controls and unmixing potentially. So basically what you're going to do is open up SpectraFlow and then go to the acquisition tab, and then open up the experiment that has the reference controls you want. So you're going to right click on this experiment, and then you're going to say duplicate with reference group data. This is immediately going to create a copy of the experiment that only has the reference controls in it. So I would immediately open this up, and I would edit it and save it as reference controls only, or something similar. So this way, when you save this on the path server, you'll see this and you'll know it's a template that only has the reference controls relevant to the experiment you want to rerun. So if you look at this right here, you can see that it only has reference controls and no sample tubes. I do want to point out that this function is actually new in this version of SpectraFlow, which is super nice. Okay, so the third option you have basically will apply when you maybe only want to use an experiment once. You're not planning to add samples to it, but you may want to re-unmix it and want to see the whole experiment together. So basically what you're going to do is go to acquisition and my experiments. And then you'll right click on the experiments and you will export it. So I've saved that to the appropriate folder on the pathology file server. If you notice, that generated a zipped file. You can get your FCS files directly from that zipped file, but you will have to obviously unzip it first. So the final version, the fourth option is going to apply when you want to run new samples and reference controls for a previously created experiment. So basically, you're going to do what's called creating a template. So you'll go to My Experiments, you'll open up the experiment, and then you'll go to Save As, and this will go to this Save Experiment Template window, and just save it as something descriptive like you would normally do. And if you wanted to open that template in future, you would just, again, go to Acquisition. When you first open the software, go to Template, and then it would be saved right there. And if you open it, you'll see that it saves. There's no data files in here at all. It has the right worksheet applied, and it's blank. So this is what you would use if you wanted to rerun your reference controls and run new samples. Okay, so those are the four main ways to deal with your data and experiments. So the last thing you'll need to do before leaving the software is go again to My Experiments and just delete anything that you have there. So you just highlight whatever you want to delete and then click delete. And just as a reminder, like I said, once you delete from My Experiments, it will eventually go into C SciTech BioExport and also remove the associated FCS files. So it's very important that the FCS files you need are already on the pathology server when you do this. If you needed to reuse any experiments that you'd exported, you would just go to Acquisition, My Experiments, and select an experiment and click Import, and then browse to the location on the file server where you had saved the experiment that you wanted to use. Okay, and I think that's it. Let us know, I guess, if you have any questions.